Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Minh and I'm your host for today from NDIS Property Australia here in Brisbane, and you're listening to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Today's podcast is the exciting episode 50. It's the Trivia podcast hosted by our game show host, Eryn.
Yeah.
And the participants today are Minh, Matt and Rob, who will be playing to see who's the winner today.
So who's the most knowledgeable about SDA?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's episode 50, a milestone, halfway to 100, very exciting. So that's 50 episodes in 4 months, which is pretty massive, pretty huge.
Spicy.
Yeah, spicy. So yeah, we just wanted to do something a little bit fun, a little bit different. I've got a bowl of random questions or random topics in front of me, and I'm just going to pick from the bowl, see what happens, and then, just going to jump in, answer them.
The purpose is when Eryn picks her topic, we, the participants in the show, will comment about the good, the bad, and the ugly of that topic.
So it's just going to be something a little bit fun, a little bit different, just for a fun episode 50 celebration. So, are we ready?
Yes,
we're ready.
Right.
Yep.
First topic. Lack of understanding.
I guess the good, bad, ugly. Well, the good side of that is people are willing to learn. They want to learn more about the SDA market in the NDIS. However, it is sort of difficult and challenging for people to surf online and trying to get sources of information to better their educational understanding of the SDA market. I guess that's my feedback on the good. Matt, Rob, anything about the bad?
I would say there's a lot of information out there, but the good is there's a lot of information available. The bad is you're going to have to probably take some time out of your schedule to learn and do your research. And the ugly, I suppose, is that sometimes there's conflicting information out there, which doesn't always line up.
I reckon the ugly side of it is the people who have the information have the wrong information and or they don't want to disclose information. For example, the marketers, the agents, they're the ones who are selling SDA out in the marketplace, and they're giving the wrong information out there to investors who don't realise that a certain category may be overexposed, like HPS in the marketplace, or providers. They don't want to disclose how many participants they have or what the needs are. I mean, that's the ugly side of it all. There's lack of collaboration amongst everyone in the community to work together, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the bad and the ugly is that they can easily be misled, potential investors with the information out there. So they come to us expecting 20% returns, and then we obviously have to educate them that that's not the reality.
All right, topic number 2. This one. Oh, good follow-on. SDA data and lack of.
Well, SDA data, there's a lot of information from data, in terms of data from the SDA, the NDIA. It is a lot. It's good that the information is out there being provided every quarter from the NDIA. If anyone wants to register, go to the NDIS website and register your details to receive the quarterly update from the NDIS price guide or other information. And this every quarter, they'll provide SDA numbers in terms of regions and areas and types of designs or categories and and number of people that are estimated in that area. So I guess that's the good side of it all. The bad side of it all is it really is an estimate. There's not actual hard data, and the data that is provided really is 6 months old or whatnot. So it's changing all the time because it is a growing. The NDIS market is growing, and it's always changing, and it's challenging. Therefore, to get the right information as to who needs what and in what area.
Yep, I'd agree with that. That's a pretty fair assessment. Yep.
And probably pretty hard to actually interpret the data too. That's the bad side. It's reasonably complicated.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Okay, topic number 3. Oh, that one flicked out. Future-proofing.
Future-proofing. I suppose I'll jump in. Yes, you can future-proof. Great way to increase appeal for your property is obviously to make it different, to add things to it that other properties which would be lumped into a similar category do not have, such as a hydrotherapy pool, extra additions to maybe the kitchen to make it more usable by someone who has a disability. But I suppose the bad side of the thing that is that it'll cost. Ultimately, that will cost extra to future-proof your property. The ugly, I suppose, is the reality is that there is a flight to some extent to good product and
but I want to add there, Matt, it's very rare to see investors fork out that extra 50 grand to 100 grand extra to make it future-proofed.
That's true.
And as a result, we're not seeing that many great SDA dwellings being produced in the marketplace because of the extra costs there.
Yep.
So it's good in theory, very good in theory, but
yet to be seen in most cases. Yep.
Bonus round, ways you can future-proof.
Oh, Rob, can you go there?
Well, I guess you just got to provide something unique and different that participants are going to want to choose over another property in the same area. So what that is in the eye of the beholder. It could be different for different people. As you mentioned, it could be hydrotherapy pools. It could be just providing an extra courtyard. It could be providing their own zones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of different things, and that probably comes back to feedback we get from providers as to what their participants want.
And also making the backyard more accessible, so more concrete pavement platform for participants to go out on their wheelchair to roll around and enjoy the backyard, having more trees, flowers, fish ponds, just little things in around the house or inside the house or whatever that makes it more livable. Yeah.
Anyone got anything else to add?
I think that's it.
All right, next topic. Participant demand.
I guess the good is that there is plenty of demand in most areas of Australia at the minute and increasing.
The bad is trying to find available land to build on to deliver that product for that demand in that area. And the ugly side of it all is persistent demand. You know, as an investor, or developer or builder, you might produce that product for that participant demand in the area. And there's no guarantee that in a year's or year and a half's time when the product is produced and rolled out to the public for the participants, that they will still be there waiting for that dwelling.
Yes. Yep.
So that is the ugly reality, that there's no guarantee, I guess, that they will be there. Or there might be other products before yours coming out of the ground. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Sustainability.
Rob, what's the good and the bad and the ugly of sustainability? Is it sustainable? Is the SDA
sure what you actually mean by sustainability? Is that as environmentally sustainable, or the actual longevity of the property, or what?
Well, let me jump in here. So there's been a lot of talk about sustainability of the NDIS, right?
Okay, yep.
But the SDA component in the NDIS program is only a very small part of that whole model.
Yep.
So with the Labor government now in place and fully supporting and contributing towards further growth and efficiencies, being more efficient in the NDIS program, we're going to see much more better outcomes for participants who are waiting for a positive outcome. We're going to see lower wastage of money being spent that doesn't need to be spent on compliance and red tape by the government, and more money going back to the participants. So I guess having seen the errors of their ways, the government or the new government is driving towards a more sustainable NDIS scheme. That's the good. The bad is, I guess, it could take a while, a few years, 2-3 years from now before it really is becoming more efficient. But the ugly side of it all, I guess, could be that it's the cost is going to blow out even further, because it was supposed to be a $20 billion annual scheme, and now it's going to be $30 billion, and it will be $50 billion per year by 2030. So hopefully the government does rein in those costs, but the SDA scheme within the NDIS is yet to be fully maxed out and drawn down, I guess, yeah.
Another good point I'd say as well is the amount of people who are employed under the NDIS scheme is huge. And that's a huge benefit to the economy, a huge benefit to people's lives, both who are benefiting obviously from the scheme at a participant level, but also who are employed, engaged in the community and working towards common goals.
I guess the bad and the ugly, which we're finding a little bit at the minute, is the time involved with getting approval for funding and having to potentially go to tribunals to have decisions overturned so that the participants can get the level of funding they need.
Right now, there are 5,000 participants in the AAT, and Bill Shorten, the Minister of NDIS, he wants that cleared out and cut down as fast as possible. So let's watch this space as to see how fast the Labor Party can clear out that waiting list there.
All right. Build costs.
What's the good, the bad, and the ugly, Matt, Rob?
I mean, I'll start with the good. That they're probably peaked now, so they should, you would assume, go down, or at least not go any higher, and then eventually at some stage begin to come down. The
bad is, I'd say, a fixed price contract doesn't mean fixed price contract.
Yep.
Yeah, and most builders are wanting to veer away from fixed price contracts going forward. So there might have to be a bit of an allowance in
variations,
the price that investors are expecting
to
take that into account.
And the ugly side of this build cost topic is the further
liability of builders.
Well, yes, but the further the title of registration of the land is from now, the more likelihood that the builder will increase the price on you as a buyer, because it is what it is. It's the market. Everyone's doing it, and that is bound to happen. The further out your title of block, the title of your lot is going to be, yes.
Move on. What do we got? Social impact.
The good, the bad, and the ugly of the social impact of SDA investing. Matt?
Well, the good is that it's socially a very good investment for someone to undertake in terms of what they're doing for the community and the participants.
Absolutely.
So people can have an investment where they get a long-term return, but also feel good about the fact that they're doing something for the local community that they're building in.
Yep, absolutely. The bad, I'd say,
it's a secondary afterthought. Really,
it's a secondary afterthought, and there's a lot of developers who are in this space who are looking for the carrot, I suppose, looking for the gold as it is. So just to be aware, I suppose, of there's a lot of cowboys in the industry. Yeah. Yep.
Are they the ability to make money? People take shortcuts. That's inherent in human nature.
So, Matt, you have cowboy boots. Does it make you want cowboy too?
I'm a cowboy in all the right ways.
Any ugly for that one?
Well, social impact. I think people are not doing enough for the NDIS. Like it's all about return-driven investment returns, maximising their investment. And I wish investors would consider more ways to be socially or ethically investing in the NDIS, like producing SIL houses, like donating to charities who are NDIS businesses, brands. So there are other ways to participate in the NDIS, and that is supporting your local business that is looking after our disability services in the local community. So that may be a better way to do it for our listeners. And if you are an investor who's not ready to invest, then hopefully you can consider reaching out to your local providers to help them out and contribute to the local events out there. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Next, resources and tools.
Well,
I feel like we touched on that a bit earlier with kind of the information and the data, I suppose, out there. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of resources out there, but there's a lot to go through.
I think the resources out there are providers with advice, research companies that could provide research reports at a paid fee, networking events by SDA consultants to contribute towards better knowledge, transparency amongst their peers, income calculators and research reports by the NDIS on the NDIS website, the Housing Hub website, the Go Nest. There are all these websites out there that are SDA focused by different groups out there, and I think there's not enough awareness to these links or platforms for investors to look into to help them make a better decision, I guess. Yeah. So the good side is there are a lot of information out there, but it's a little bit too lack of transparency as to where these tools and resources are for investors to look into, tapping into them. I guess the bad is, I wish there was more services providing real, raw, correct data, which can help investors to make an informed decision. And the ugly is that these tools and resources are very limiting in their own way. They need to be more, the word cross-collateralized, where they synchronize with each other to feed data and information to each other. So it gives more knowledge and resources to investors to review and look into. Yeah, that's my feedback.
It is such a new area, though, too. Only 5 years since it started, so it's going to have its limitations in terms of resources and tools, just based on a lack of time and a lack of actual factual data over that time.
Minh was just cheating. I walked away for 2 seconds and caught him
he's checking out
the bowl.
Yep.
He's cheating. All right. Developers versus builders.
Oh, Rob, this is for you, mate. The good and the bad and the ugly of developers and builders.
Well, we find that a lot of developers and builders are very keen on getting involved in the sector.
That's the good.
But unfortunately, as we've discussed or you alluded to earlier, a lot of them are looking at it from a profit point of view first rather than helping the community. And what we find is over time, the majority of them eventually decide it's all too difficult to move further in this sector because it is so new to them and so different to what they've historically done. So they all start out with good intentions, but it tends to wane in a lot of cases over time.
The ugly side of it is a lot of builders and developers do not want to move away from the minimum standards that they have to deliver. So there is a minimum build design standard of which SDA is based upon by the NDIS. And according to these developers and builders, as long as they satisfy the minimum standards, that's all that matters. And unfortunately, as we know, that's not good enough. Minimum standards not good enough. We need them to think about more about how to better design these dwellings for the betterment. Is it that's a word? Betterment for the
Betterment, yeah.
Yeah, that's
betterment
fine.
of these participants who are going to live there for the rest of their lives. I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you are a listener who is a builder or developer, please consider going above and beyond the minimum design standards to make it a wonderful and future-proofed property for the participants, please.
Next one. Price increases.
Rob?
I'm not sure what the good in terms of that is that the actual rental is going up each year with CPI. And as we've alluded to in other podcasts, there could be a jump next year to factor in the increase in land and build costs over the last 5 years. So that's the good. The rents are likely to increase to compensate for the increased costs. The bad is the increased costs, but it's just a fact of life with everything at the minute, that everything is going up.
I think it's the bad.
And the ugly related to that is, I guess, the viability of the builders going forward. We do have to make sure that they're going to be around to do these projects and make money into the future.
Yeah. Next topic, educating investors.
Oh, that's a...
I think that's a Matt question, honestly.
Yes, Matt.
Yeah, just the main thing is, as I've always mentioned, we're here to, I suppose, educate as much as we can. And the good thing is we do have a lot of resources that we've created inside the company, this podcast included, to try to educate people. Because ultimately, we don't want investors to just waste their money. We want investors who know what they want, are going to buy something which suits their own needs. And the more that we can obviously give information, educate people about the ins and outs of the SDA industry and how it all works, the better they'll be in a position to make a purchase and confidently make a purchase.
The bad side of this, Matt, is often they may not listen to the good advice that people like us will warn them about. And they will bring their traditional property investing mindset into this sector. Because when you are a property investor, traditional property investor, you look at capital growth, you look at amenities near schools, you look at population, all those things that are relevant to normal property investing, which everyone knows. But in the SDA investing game, it's not the case. We don't look at that. We don't look at near schools. We don't look at population growth. We don't look at those things. The criteria is different. It's amenities, it's near hospitals, it's near facilities that are relevant to participants to live a better life. It's a different criteria there. And I guess it's hard for some people to jump off the old traditional mindset into the NDIS investing mindset. Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Finance.
Rob.
Wow, there's a lot of good, bad, and ugly in that.
Financing, yeah.
The good thing is that we can get finance as investors in this sector if you know where to go and deal with experts in the area. The bad and the ugly, I guess, is that there are
still not enough
a lot
lenders.
of banks and et cetera that won't help you in this sector, or there might be a lot of brokers out there who say that they can help you but can't. So you could be spending a lot of time wasted getting your finance organised.
I think the ugly side of it all is we all know financing is a very important topic, but investors do not prepare for their financing. So when they're theoretically ready to go, I want to buy a property, they want to put an EOI to sign a contract, they're still 8 to 10 weeks away from even being finance approved. And as you know, Rob, the vendor is not going to wait 10 weeks.
No, that's getting, as we know, they want you to sign a contract based on finance being in place.
And unconditional straight away and non-refundable deposits, yeah.
We have a podcast coming out with Dana, who does finance, that's coming out in a few weeks. And I think that's really important for people who are looking to invest to listen to, because she really explains the importance of preparing before, and why you should prepare beforehand. I I just think and I really enjoyed listening to that as I was editing it, and she just gave so much good information. I think that's a really a must listen episode for anyone that's looking to invest.
Great.
All right.
The key to this whole investment.
Inexperienced investors.
Rob, you've had a lot of experience in Melbourne with all those mortgage brokers and those inexperienced investors there. You want to give some feedback about your experiences there about those inexperienced people?
Oh, it's just that you end up spending a lot of time that doesn't provide answers and results in the long term. So, but that's what we talked about earlier about education in this sector. It's a little bit harder and a little bit more involved. Yeah, so it's not for a newbie who's never understood or invested in property. I wouldn't have thought. You have to have a bit of an understanding of this whole sector. It's a more advanced investment option within investment property, I would have thought, for most people.
So if is the topic what inexperienced investors, right?
Yep.
That is the key word, inexperience. This is a very complicated property transaction, and it is not suitable for everyone. It's not meant for everyone, to be honest. And it's not suitable to the faint-hearted. Someone who's a low risk profile investor who needs guaranteed returns, needs certainty, maybe they shouldn't consider SDA, okay? Because there are a lot of moving parts in this. There is the financing approval, the valuation, the participant demand, if at all, the build costs being changed on you during construction. There's so many moving parts in this game at the moment, and I would say to you, if you think you are a low risk investor, then do not enter the SDA property sector, because if you're tight on your money in terms of what's the word? Tight on your lending eligibility, tight on your deposit, tight on your serviceability, then there's just too much potential errors that could occur that will ruin the transaction for you and make it a bad experience. So therefore, if you are an inexperienced investor, please stay out of this NDIS property market. Yeah.
Second last, longevity.
Well, the good for that is that there is a predefined time frame and income that the government has laid out for at least the next 18 years for the sector. But as we've discussed in the past, we think it's going to go well and truly beyond that, and that it'll be funded continually for as long as we're likely to be around. So that it's not something that's going to disappear. It's only increasing in terms of the number of participants, the number of people in the community that are disabled. The government appetite for providing funding is not likely to reduce in the future either. You wouldn't have thought.
And I touched on it earlier in terms of people being employed in the industry, and it's not as if the government would ever want to see people out of work because of a policy they redacted on, I guess.
Yeah.
Now it's going to go through a lot of trials and tribulations, as we know it currently is, with government policy and changes and funding over the next few years. But I think they'll eventually sort it all out and improve and streamline the whole system.
All right. Last one. Bit of a hot topic at the moment. Land supply.
Well, the good is it's actually getting a little bit easier to provide land, but that's based on the ugly, which is that a lot of people are deciding to not settle or sell their blocks because their obviously funding circumstances have changed due to the increases in the interest rates and the potential for more. But in terms of giving us choice over blocks in different areas and different states, we are starting to see that it's actually freeing up a little bit and there is more land coming onto the market. So that's the good side of that coin.
Yeah, and to that point, Rob, we got 7 or 8 packages in Tasmania for sale now. We have 4 to 5 packages in Melbourne for sale, 4 to 5 in Adelaide now. We have 3 or 4 in Perth, plus 15 units in Perth. So the stock is coming through now because of the easing of we always knew that in the second half of 22 was always going to be more land being released from the councils, the regions.
Yep.
And now with the interest rates going up and up all the time, it's scaring borrowers and allowing more land to be released to the investor market, because the last 2 years is all about the owner-occupier home buyer market. Now it's the investor market. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that land you mentioned with those packages we're getting are now resale land 12 months on from when these families that might have been looking to build a house bought the land have now changed their mind. Mm-hmm. So it's coming back onto the market. So we're not just dealing with new estate land anymore.
We're dealing with land in good areas.
There's a lot more choice, and we can then pick better located blocks for these packages.
Mm. And Rob, do you want to talk about that phone call you had with that gentleman on the phone a couple of hours ago who's a project manager who's working with participant-led stuff as well?
Yeah, look, we've got to do a little bit more research, but we might have options for investors going forward where we've touched on knockdown rebuild sites in the past, but we've also mentioned it's difficult to find builders that will look at these sites. We may have opportunities for investors to have a project managed site put together where it might be a house, or it could be a couple of units put on that house where there are a few different builders starting to put their hand up to build these things. So we might have more sophisticated options going forward for investors, which is good.
Right. Well, that about wraps up our trivia podcast session of the good, the bad, and the ugly, isn't it?
Yep. That's all the topics.
Guys, thank you very much for your contribution.
So who won, Eryn?
Well, I mean, Tommy, I wasn't allowed to keep a tally, but because he cheated, because you cheated and looked in the bowl while I turned away, I'm taking all of your points away from you.
Disqualified. Okay.
Disqualified immediately. I wasn't keeping track. Scissors, paper, rock between Matt and Rob.
Anyway.
Well, it's been a wonderful journey so far, having 50 episodes completed for the podcast. We are so proud that we're the only podcasts online doing SDA in the NDIS sector. We encourage more of our peers or competitors to do more for the SDA awareness and education like we are. And we love the collaboration of other providers and other developers and other stakeholders to come on our channel to talk about what they're doing in the SDA market as well. So we want to give more exposure to other companies and other businesses about what they're doing wonderfully well. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks, everyone.
All right, sounds good.
Thanks, Eryn.
Thanks, guys.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.